Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today we've got a shell out here that should give us some really good looking results. Plus, it's one that we haven't tested on the channel, so I am definitely excited to see what it can do. Because it is absolutely gonna be a pretty stout loading if it performs like I think it should. But as for the shell I've got out here today, I picked up some of these. These are the Winchester Longbeard XR loads, but they are a 12 gauge 3.5 inch 2 ounce payload of number 4 shot, moving about 1200 feet per second. And we recently tried some of the 3.5 inch 6s and they were really impressive. So what can the 3.5 inch number 4s do? Typically in a number 4 shell you have less pellets to work with than a number 5 or 6, but with these being a 2 ounce payload in a 3.5 inch shell, we should have a good amount more pellets to work with. So with these being Longbeard shells, even though they're 4s, they should in theory give us a really good looking pattern. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what these can do. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag here with this choke, which is the Kicks Gobblin Thunder 680 constriction turkey choke, and it has given us some really good results with kind of similar shells like this in the past. So I figured this would be a pretty good starting point here and should work well together with these shells. But as for the test today, everything is going to be the same as usual. The turkey target is set up at 40 yards. I've also got the chronograph, so we'll be able to get our velocity from these shells. So we'll get you guys to view the target and take the shot, look at the chrono, and then go down and look at our results. I definitely have some high hopes for this combination because I think there's a chance that we see a pretty devastating looking pattern today. But let's head over here and take this shot, just see what kind of results it actually gives us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1293 through our chrono. The box claims 1200, so we are a little bit above their claim. But from my experience, most Longbeard shells do shoot a little bit faster out of my setups for one reason or another. So I definitely don't think we're seeing anything too out of the ordinary here. But they are starting to get up there a little bit in velocity for a lead number 4. But I guess that doesn't really matter too much if they performed well down at 40 yards. So let's go down and take a look at our pattern and just see what we got. Alright, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. We absolutely have a dead bird here. There's no question about it. There's 2 through the brain and a good handful of them down through the spine. So absolutely would have hammered that bird. And that core area looks really good for a lead number 4 shot. Not bad whatsoever. Now backing out and looking at the edges of it here, we do see a little bit of sporadicness around the edges. It's definitely not perfect, especially over here off the left edge. There are those couple strings flying around over there that I would prefer not to see necessarily, but for a lead shell and a number 4, it's not too unexpected either. I think we can tune this in a little bit with the right choke, but definitely not terrible. A few flyers and strings again, but for that kind of a core out of lead 4s right there, you can't complain a whole lot. That would absolutely get it done out to 40 yards, 45, and probably even 50 as well. I don't think you would have much problem taking that out a little bit farther. So definitely, I don't think these Longbeard 3.5 inch 4s disappointed at all. That's really kind of what I was hoping to see, minus a few of the little strings around the edges. But again, I think with the right choke, we can tune that in a little bit. And just by looking at that core, I don't know that going tighter would be necessarily the right option, because if that core area remains there, that's pretty tight. And if you're shooting them inside of 30, 25, 20 yards, you're gonna really have to be on them, because that's gonna be pretty tight. So definitely not disappointing at all, I wouldn't say. Looking very good, especially for the starting point, the first shell that we've shot with these 3.5 inch 4s. We've definitely got a good spot to work with, that's for sure. I wish there wasn't quite as many of those little flyers around the edges, so it's not 1000% perfect, but still can't really argue with those kind of results from a lead number 4. And with the right choke, I think it's going to be even better than that. And it would absolutely get you a bird at 40 yards all day long. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and this one is actually red. Now that probably just has something to do with either them being the 3.5 inch version or that new box design. They could have changed up their colors a little bit or something. Either way, it's still the same old Longbeard wad that we would expect. There's nothing stuck down in there except a little bit of that buffer material they use. No rips or tears or pinholes in it, but this one petal is twisted a little bit here, so that could have played into why we saw the left edge of our pattern have a couple couple of strings in it. It's a possibility anyway, but the rest of the wad looks very much normal. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that I wouldn't expect out of a Longbeard wad. So looking pretty decent here overall, I'd say, except for that one pedal that isn't quite perfect over here. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that pattern right there? Definitely a devastating pattern at 40 yards all day long. It's not 1000% perfect around those edges, but again, I think with the right choke, we can tune that in a little bit better. But still, for a lead number 4 shell, we really can't complain too much after seeing that type of a core right there. That would absolutely take your bird out to 40, 45, 50 yards all day long. So again, the Longbeard shells kind of do what the Longbeard shells do, unless you get kind of a bad random box of them. They seem to still be pretty decent overall. So I'm definitely looking forward to testing these 4s through some different chokes and seeing what kind of results we can actually continue to get, because they definitely seem to be some pretty decent shells, that's for sure. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is it about what you expected? Were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Longbeard 3.5-inch 4s? And what kind of results have you seen out of them, if so? And maybe what other chokes and stuff might you want to see these through? Let me know all that down below. But as for today's test, not a ton of complaints and can't argue a whole lot with those kind of results there. But with that being said, I've got some more tests to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.